Uncuckables.
Hello everyone and welcome to another Thursday Uncuckables on lockdown D-Day Eve, because tomorrow is the big national cabinet meeting where they're going to decide how they're going to slowly roll out the relaxation in social restrictions. Of course, I, Tim Wilms, David Hiscox, and the returning Marcia, Leite, we're all Victorians. We're still living under house arrest. Daniel Andrews says even we're not allowed to see our mothers for Mother's Day because they might end up in the morgue. Those are his words.
Yeah, no, I can't wait actually to have this relax. But I think if they couldn't open one day earlier for Mother's Day, I don't think we're gonna have a relaxation of rules on a Monday. I'm expecting an extension. That's what I'm expecting.
Dave, are you still loving the lockdown?
Yes. Yeah, I am. I've actually found myself getting a little bit agitated that the lockdown might finish. I genuinely don't want things to go back to normal. I know it's difficult for other people, but I've been working from home and I've been traveling, using my car a lot less, and I've been using the time to play piano and write. It's been great.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It still hasn't made you on time for streams. The reason we're half an hour late is because of Dave. You're busy being a pianist.
Well, tonight I was having a beer with a friend, but like it was strictly work related. So no breaking
Zoom?
of any.
No breaking social.
Yeah, so over Zoom. Yes, over Zoom in Minecraft. I was having a beer in Minecraft. Yeah.
These Zoom drinks, I haven't participated in one throughout the entire lockdown. It seems a pretty gay idea to me. That it's just like
Come on, man,
the pub.
2 minutes in and you're falling off my seat already.
The other day.
This is just like being down at the pub. I've got my cocktail here, and you're having but when you obviously when you're at a house party, you're at the pub, and that you're a bit more physical, which you can't be as well. For me, it's all or nothing. It's either an in-person drinks and get drunk together, or it's nothing. And I'd rather prefer nothing.
I've been missing the real life action. But actually, I have a girls' night out last Friday on a Zoom with some of the yoga moms. Then they're all with the glass of wine, with the champagne. At least you have a little bit of time to catch up. And then, of course, we can talk about all the news, everything that's happening, all the online shopping they're doing. And yeah, actually, I asked some of the yoga moms if they're downloading the app. It's very 50-50. Some of them don't want to download. The other ones just think like, what's wrong? I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm not having an affair anyway, so why not? So it's not better to have an affair. Like, I really don't want to download the app, but that's okay.
Yeah, I'm glad you are wanting to avoid gauge drinks. That's great.
My mic was playing up again. It should be better now. I've been having... My mic has been playing up. It reverts to this really echoey microphone, but it's fixed up now.
There's still a bit of reverb on it, but it's much better than it was for the first couple of minutes.
Yeah. I can hear perfectly, so I have no problems.
Dave, people are commenting, though, Dave, your microphone has improved.
Yeah, apparently I'm a little bit loud now. That's great.
Yeah, you're so pleased with yourself that you got that lapel microphone so you can be a bit louder.
Yeah, it's tremendous. It means I can even live stream from home. This is amazing.
Oh wow, such a revolution.
Yeah, I keep telling people the coronavirus has changed my life. It's for the better. I think I must be the only person in the entire West who's like, let's just keep this going.
There is some good things about it. Like I've been enjoying being home, but it sometimes can be chaotic. My kids can go feral sometimes, and I just want to get out of the house a little bit.
Kids are like orcs. They when they go, they just go.
Now they need, I'm waking up the kids earlier, get the homeschooling done. And that's it, like go play with your bikes, go play with the scooter. And someone just hears someone crying. And then they have a scratch, they scratch their knee, they scratch the other. Oh, here you go, mom is full of band-aids. Yeah, that's it. So they need to release their energy. They need to play.
Yes, yeah. I've got a little niece who just needs to let a little bit of that monster out.
Yeah, they get feral. you need to get out. Don't worry, the mother get feral too.
Yeah.
Now, in the second half of the show, we will be joined by Stefanos of Australian Meditations. Dave is only doing a half show because, busy penising.
Yes.
That's the correct term.
Schedule.
Yes. It's not pronunciation. It's I've been making the same joke for the last 20 years. I'm not going to give you a hard time.
And now there's been, I know that you're an Australian now, Marcia, though we haven't established, are you a sole Australian citizen or you're one of those dual citizens?
No. I'm not Australian citizen yet. Actually, that's the thing. Like my husband, I always keep telling me, you need to do a citizenship. You need to do a citizenship. My dad used to be on an army. He was part of the Air Force in Brazil, and he was a very proud Brazilian. And it was a matter of honor, a matter of pride. Like, I'm Brazilian. I will die Brazilian. So I delay as much as I can. So I have permanent citizenship. I'm married to an Australian man. I have my children, so I'm allowed to live in Australia, but I'm not a citizen yet. But my husband keeps pushing me, so I'm going to have to do. So my father will be like, you just don't know the family.
All you got to know is that Donald Bradman's batting average was 99.94. You know that, and you just pass through. Just say that at the start of the exam. They'll just be like, automatic pass. Yeah, you don't need to do that.
I know. I do believe. I'm very proud of have Australian children to marry Australian man. Like, I love this country. That's why I get so involved with politics now, and it'll be an honor to become a citizen. But I delay specifically because of the pride that my father carried 2 years to remind us we should be proud of our country. My father was what you guys are, like what Black culture is, that proud Brazilian, like the guy he was born. Anyway, so for his own female daughter, like their own daughter, he'll probably be like, I can't believe you're changing who you are. Anyway, I'll get this done.
So you're a resident.
Permanent resident.
I always get confused. As a resident, are you allowed to vote?
No, not yet.
So that means that you have no say, which is how some would like it, that Daniel Andrews is your dear leader.
I know. I'm so involved, but I need to get my citizenship done. Yeah, I'm just allowed to talk. I'm just allowed to talk. Just bullshit.
Well, it means that if you were out of the country when the lockdown began and foreigners were banned from Australia, you were allowed back in because Australian citizens and residents were allowed to return as long as, it was mandatory by that time, the 14-day quarantine at one of the hotels there. But I guess that leads us to the, what would you call it, the $1 million question, or the big question: who would you fight for, Australia or Brazil?
When it comes to soccer, it would be Brazil.
Yeah, because Australia's losers.
I don't think the soccer rules have too much chance for the Brazilians.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway. But I think you have to embrace the place that you are. So, and I don't think we're ever gonna get into a war with Brazil anyway. But I try don't get homesick So I don't watch any TV show related to Brazil. I don't know even much the music. I cook my food, I speak my language in home. But besides that, I'm involved with what happened in Australia. So my passion now is Australia. That's where I am. But I'm never gonna forget where I come from. So that is, there is no difference. I fall in love for this country, and I have 2 Australian kids, and I want this country to thrive. I want to be the best as it can, because I have 2 kids who are gonna grow here, and I can't wait to have heaps of grandchildren. I want this to prosper. So I love Australia. I want this to prosper.
Though the Crown did go to war with Argentina and the Falklands in 82.
But the Argentinians, don't worry about that.
It was still a Latin American
We don't
country
like
against the
Argentinians in
Commonwealth.
Brazil. Sorry, repeat.
It was still a Latin American country at war with the British Empire.
You haven't been to Latin America, have you, Tim?
No.
We don't like
There's
each
your
other.
answer. There's your answer.
Well, they both had military how do you say it? Junkers or juntas.
Junta. It's a junta.
Junta.
No, the whole thing is Argentina was the only country that have this thing with Britain. They actually feel the Europeans. It's completely different than Brazilians. Like we're very proud Latin Americans, and we don't get involved with their business. So, like if they get into war, we're probably gonna join the British to invade Argentina. We're not very friendly with the Argentinians.
You're a white ally. Ally.
Yeah, I'll be the white ally.
Yeah, that's it. So what's on the news agenda tonight?
Welcome
Tim?
the red coats.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, let's start down in Brazil because it seems that Bolsonaro, he's going through the same difficulties as Trump with trying to liberate his people from the lockdown, because Trump wants America to reopen, but
for business.
Yeah, but the state governors, a lot of them are still being control freaks with the stay-at-home orders, including that witch from Michigan, Gretchen Weimer, whatever.
Her name is actually Gretchen.
Yes.
Gretchen.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. I hear goblin.
But Brazil, it's the same thing. I saw that Bolsonaro led a anti-lockdown rally at Brasilia, and the thing is,
in his own country.
Yeah, we're told that Trump and Bolsonaro are fascist dictators, yet these governors are the real fascists.
That's the thing. That's how fascists act. They all the people get sucked in. We're here to save you. We're here to embrace. We're here to protect you. And then they just implement all these laws that you lose all your freedom, you can't do anything. We're going to give you this. We're going to give it. That's what Venezuela done. That's what Bolivia done. Anyway, but the thing with Bolsonaro, he didn't lock down the country. So he expects you to have common sense. So you can stay home if you can work from home, or you go to work. If, like a small business, retail, manufacturing, they have to go to work. So there is no lockdown. So if you can work from home, you stay home. So the country is open for business. So they're distributing hand sanitizers, masks, the army is producing hydroxychloroquine to be used at the hospitals. The army is producing ventilators. So the country is working to try to help the ones that are sick, but you don't have to be in lockdown if you don't want. But there is some few states that they stopping federal roads. So you cannot, actually the truck drivers cannot do delivery. So there is some few governors that are trying to stop the delivery, the fresh produce to come, but the federal government's not the one doing that.
What are you up to?
Just to be a stickler for terms, what we're describing by these governments sounds more like communism than fascism.
Yeah. Yeah, we came from 16 years of a socialist government, communist sympathizers. So the governments that we have before have the mentality that, you know, we're gonna give you everything. They have the red flags. They kill communists before. So yeah, so just give to us. We sort of everything. Just pay your taxes. We look after everything. That's not what Bolsonaro is. Bolsonaro is about open market and self responsibility. That's what people need to do. The self responsibility. If you're feeling sick, you're staying home. If you can work from home, you're staying home. But the country's not closed.
Do you? I'm trying to look up things now, but I don't. I'm going to get much. Do you know much about the demographic breakdown of the coronavirus victims in Brazil?
We have the numbers. So you have 126,000 infected and 88,500 deaths. But from there, you have 122,000 people that, you know, that probably will be they'll be cured. You know, so the numbers are way higher of people who's already been released and everything's fine. And actually, I was mentioning to Tim before the amount of videos on WhatsApp, on Instagram in Portuguese, of people saying that, you know, my father went to the hospital with chest pains. We know he have a heart attack, and then they give him the COVID-19 cause of death. So we cannot mourn over that. We cannot bury him because the coffin have to be sealed. There's no autopsy. So the amount of cases of people that are coming forward saying that they have the wrong diagnosis for the death of their relatives, it's enormous. So probably the numbers are wrong.
What's the impact on the economy like at the moment? Do you know much about that?
Actually, I haven't been reading much about that. But of course, the unemployment, it's skyrocket. So what Bolsonaro done, the same way that America gave $1,200 to unemployed, a stimulus pack. Yeah, that was the name, the $1,200 stimulus pack. So in Brazil, they give, so they already reached 50 million people received. So they give $600 to Brazilians. So reach already 50 million people. But yeah, the numbers on unemployment is pretty high.
Yeah. Well, and was it pretty high before the coronavirus crisis as well?
Unemployment in Brazil is pretty harsh too, because you have very, very high numbers of the lower class of people that cannot even read or write their names. So actually, Bolsonaro is doing online courses, or you can have free schools at night for people to work during the day. So you have a lot of people that is illiterate in the country. So you have to improve this, so that actually these people can actually join the working force to get better jobs. So there's a lot of things that need to improve in the country as well. So, and illiteracy is one of the biggest problems. So some of these people, they cannot even sign their own names, so they can't get a job.
Hello to everyone in the YouTube live chat, and we've also got a few active people in the DLive chat. It started to pick up again since we've been able to dual stream again. For those in the live chat, I'm putting the entropy link in, so you can join us there, vote in our poll. Which is more dangerous? Is it the flu vaccination, or is it the COVID Safe app? You can also ask a question, or you can send through a super chat. A few people on DLive have been sending us ice creams and lemons, the cryptocurrency of that platform. So thank you for that.
That's cute.
I'm not sure if the rest of you are checking the YouTube live chat, but there seems to be a lot of imposters, people pretending to be other people, which I've never seen that before.
No, that's bad. I'm not checking, so I'm just interested to talk with you guys for now. So I'll check this later.
It's quite easy on YouTube to create fake imposter accounts.
Don't try to do a fake account of my face, okay? Please.
It tends, the fake accounts tend to be our enemies. I think you're safe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Go away.
Oh, there are people who are in our circle tonight. There's, what is it, fake ones of the Dusty Bogan and Dia Beltran.
So what's next on the agenda, Tim? We're talking about the app or the rise in racist incidents in Australia.
Well, next I've got you've heard me rage against TikTok, the Chinese video app, which in lockdown, not just Australians but people all around the Western world making cringeworthy videos. Basically, the Chinese are doing an even better job than Facebook and Instagram of just reducing us to a state of decadence.
I know, yeah. And they're getting all your data. They know where you are, who are your friends, where you're going. No, I'm not getting a TikTok. I'm too old for that.
Well, this is what is the latest on TikTok. This is from the New York Post. Social media bozos are now peeing their pants out of lockdown boredom.
It's not the first dumb thing that we've had on social media. Like there were the people who were eating the laundry pods a while ago.
And what is it?
Yeah.
Snorting condoms through their noses.
Oh my God. Okay.
People do anything for likes now, for views. It's just ridiculous.
I don't have a problem with
embarrassing yourself for life.
I don't have a problem with people improving the human gene pool by removing themselves from it. Like that I don't have a problem with that.
The embarrassing thing used to be have your nudes online. Nudes now, it's all good. Yeah, just piss your pants. That's the worst you can do now.
Being all natural, that's more hygienic than peeing your pants.
Your nudes are safe with me, Tim.
Did you participate in Nude Gardening Day, Marcia? That was May 2.
No, I can walk nudging home. I don't mind that, but with my windows closed, everything closed.
Well, if you've got large bushes, what was it? Chris and Murray, they used to advertise, what was it called? Neighbours Be Gone, where, what is it? Chris and Murray, they used to run all these plant stores around Melbourne. They had these large bushes called Neighbours Be Gone, and Chris was always nude behind the Neighbours Be Gone. And the advert was, it keeps the neighbours out that you can run around in your backyard in the nude. And then Murray chased him around with the hedge clippers.
No, I will not join. So, I think it's already enough that my neighbors see me in my Brazilian G-strings when it's sunny outside. They probably not even look anymore. Just like, oh yeah, Marcia, her ass out anyway. No, I will not go nude.
All right, let's get back to this story. So the hashtag Pee Your Pants Challenge currently boasts 3.9 million views on TikTok, with dozens of clout-chasing chuckleheads heeding nature's call on camera to keep entertainer mid-lockdown. In the original clip posted April 21, 19-year-old comedian Liam Wayner can be seen in front of a mirror nonchalantly.
Did you say his name is Wayner?
What?
Weyer. W-E-Y-E-R. And these are the apparent, the highlights of the thing there.
It's ridiculous.
So yes, Weyer, who reposted the video after it was yanked from TikTok, told The Insider, "I'm surprised to see that people on the internet will pee themselves if you could call it a challenge and add a hashtag."
So Tim, does a personal friend of the Uncuckables have a TikTok channel?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't have a TikTok
they were a pioneer of this. They were a pioneer of this.
Yeah, there's just, my mind is just going there. I'm just, it wouldn't surprise me at all.
Actually, I know someone that lost his job because of TikTok. I'm not going to say the name and I'm not going to say the company. But
it doesn't surprise me.
He works in retail. And
I was going to say, is he a nurse?
No, apparently he's kind of a little celebrity on TikTok, have like 22,000 followers. And he make a joke on a client at work So behind the customer's back, and he posted. So the managers, head office, everyone find out, and one of the customers saw online, so he lost his job.
Well, you know, we've been.
And
I've been saying
it's an Australian brand, so like they don't want to see one of the staff making jokes behind the back of one of the customers. Yeah.
Well, that will get you. It like that is something which is sort of fair enough if you lose your job because of social media. If I mean you're rubbishing your co-workers or customers or airing dirty laundry out on social media, then fair enough. But if you're just stating, for example, your Christian beliefs in your private time, then that's got nothing to do with work.
I know that was fine. I was fine with that, but it's, you know, of course, gossip happens in a working place, so everyone find out. Yeah, it was because he was making jokes about a regular customer. So even worse.
And, you know, I've been writing racist stuff on the internet for the last 5 years. I seem to have managed to keep my jobs. I'm just happy about that.
Well, that's because that term is subjective.
Yes. And I'm using the term ironically. I'm ironically using the term of our enemy. Yeah.
Do you know which a political leader I found out recently has a TikTok? You never guess who it is.
George Christensen?
Pauline Hanson?
No, I said you'll never guess.
Anyone?
I was being sarcastic. It's someone who you'd think would have a TikTok account.
Oh, Sarah Hanson Young.
Daniel Andrews.
Of course.
Are you? Jesus, what are you gonna put there? How boring he gonna be?
Oh well, he's going to ask the Chinese to help Victoria get out of the recession that they both work together to create with the One Belt, One Road program. I get the feeling because
Mm.
did he have any followers? Like
I'm not on TikTok.
His cabinet,
his mum, his mom's on there.
Yeah. Like 10 followers.
He's not visiting his mother for Mother's Day because his mother Jan Andrews, because he was asked about, are you going to follow the other states in relaxing restrictions before Mother's Day, and he said, I'll tell you what I'll be doing for Mother's Day is I won't be visiting my mum. She's in her 70s. She has an underlying medical condition. She's healthy, but I wouldn't even do it if it was legal. And like he tried to detach himself from the fact that he's the one who's banning people from seeing their mothers on Mother's Day. I wonder if he's
trying to get some kind of moral high ground with what he's saying. He's like,
but fair enough. There will be if he being caught driving, go to his mother's place, and no other Victorian can do the same. So he'll be in trouble. But the whole thing is, if you know you're not feeling well, you shouldn't visit someone that's elderly anyway with the COVID going on. But as I said in the beginning, I don't think he's gonna weaken the restrictions Monday, because it's just one day after Mother's Day. He could just go, you know what, we're gonna finish the restriction Saturday and night. On a Sunday, not life go back to normal. Now, if he's not gonna do this Sunday, he's not gonna do it on a Monday either. I don't think he's going to relax the restrictions. I think we're going to see an extension probably until the 1st of June. You're probably going to give it out to the end of the month or something.
At least. Like, Victoria is basically the most authoritarian state in Australia.
Yeah,
Daniel Andrews is the most leftist state. It's the most leftist government. Yeah. And even when they do relax things, like they're going to keep a few things that they like. I like the sound of being able to control how people interact with each other. They're going to keep that going as long as they possibly can.
But he's still getting a lot of praise. This is Magda Szubanski. Every day I thank God for Daniel Andrews MP and his practical, genuine, staunch, sensible, caring, pragmatic idealism. He led us through the bushfires and he's leading us with COVID-19. His influence in the National Cabinet and the halting of this virus must never be underestimated.
What would that Polish lesbian know about anything?
She's become a character like she's now a character
of herself.
that she used,
correct.
she used to play,
She's probably being home just ordering her Uber, and just thinking, I'm just gonna say something nice. All those, I love when you see all those celebrities on Instagram, half naked in bikini, but they always put something nice, very philosophical. That's my ass.
Thankfully,
thank you. That's me naked, but I always say something nice. Yeah, so that's she probably thinking the same. Well, I'm gonna eat something. I'm gonna drink. I'm doing fuck all, but let me say something philosophical.
That's it. Hey guys, give me 2 minutes. I'll be back. You guys keep chatting.
Okay.
Well, Magda, she's in isolation. She's back dressing up as Sharon Strzelecki from Kath and Kim. And the recent video that Dan Andrews shared in his TikTok was Kel Knight, Glenn Robbins playing Kel Knight about, what is that, ringing up Kath about what do we need at the supermarket. So I guess he's sort of half bringing back Kath and Kim, Dan Andrews, so you'll sort of win some brownie points with that as well.
That's okay. I like it. She's talented as an actress, as a comedian, so that's fine. But that's what I said. We don't need to be lectured on your politics. But anyways, freedom of speech. She can say whatever she wants. But, you're gonna end up listening back. You're inside of your $1 million house, and you try to lecture people that they want to stay home. And Daniel Andrews is doing an amazing job. Now we could have the restrictions. We could start going back to work, because she doesn't work. She doesn't need that salary from Monday to Friday. She already have her life sorted, her house paid. Average people is struggling, like my pantry is full because I panic shopping. So I'm living out of my panic shopping. I have so much food. But it's still like, you have your bills coming, you have things else. You want to go back to work. You want to go back to normal life. Those people, they don't work Monday to Friday. They don't know what is there. They have a job, they have a show, and then they work for a couple months of the year. The rest of the year, they just enjoy their life. And then they try to lecture us on social media. Soon she's going to be singing Imagine, with some other Aussie stars on the internet.
We've got a question on entropy from the Australian Vanguard. What does Marcia think about the White Australia policy, generally the Immigration Restriction Act of 1901, only white immigration, which was in place until 1967, when it was dismantled by Liberal Prime Minister Harold Holt after he succeeded Robert Menzies, who was a supporter of the White Australia policy?
To be honest, actually, I'm in favor of the policy, and it can sound quite hypocrite because I'm a pure white, I'm a Caucasian, like most of you. But I understand you want to preserve your country, you want to preserve what was built when the first settlers came here and built this nation. So how much wonders they have built in only 250 years. So you want the country to be prosperous. And I think, regardless actually of the color of the skin, I think it's more the mentality, the Western mentality that should be preserved. If you want to come to Australia, if you want to migrate to Australia, you should respect Western values. And I think the only thing I can say to any Australian to ask to me, like, oh, are you a South America? So why you agree with that? So you hear is that I cannot see myself anything besides a Westerner. I was raised with Western values. I was raised with Christian values. So I can guarantee you that I respect this country, I respect the law. I'm a law-abiding citizen, I pay my taxes, and I love this country. But I understand why the white Australian policy was great, because it was if you want to migrate, it wasn't just about being white. I think they were thinking about being a Westerner, about have the same values. If you want to come to Australia, you should uphold the same values.
Well, yeah, the Australians, pre-Federation, they understood that, like, the British Empire was running their empire the way that they wanted, and so they were sending Indians all over the empire to do work. They understood that the Chinese wanted to come here to Australia, and what they wanted was a homeland for Australians of British heritage, and that was the whole reason. That was literally the whole reason why we federate, so that we could provide ourselves a homeland and we could provide a common defence. Now all of that's been turned against us, and if we mention that, we're deemed to be against our country. But like that's literally the reason why
it was nothing to do with racism. Was a brand new land. Was just discovered. You actually have to build a society first. The laws, the culture, the language, build universities, hospitals, and houses, and develop and manufacture. If you just accept an enormous amount of migration right at the beginning that have nothing to do with the British Empire, that will not belong to the British Empire.
Yeah,
so they send the settlers, they send the convicts, but it was about being the British first.
Yeah, and it was about race. It was about the Australian race that had been built up over the course of that century and a little bit. We understood that we were a people and we needed a homeland. That was why it was set up. That was why it was established. That's why it was such a betrayal after World War II. The sacrifices that we'd given in both the First World War and the Second World War, to have all of that turned around against us, and just to go completely the opposite.
Lost.
Yeah.
Where did you go, Dave? Did you have to empty out all those drinks either at the front or down below or back through where it came from?
I considered that since we're on YouTube and not TikTok, it would be ungraceful of me to do a PPP.
Good, keep classy.
Hello, Stefanos. How are you?
G'day, Maddie.
G'day. Can you see me?
Yeah, we can.
Yes, yeah.
Speak more into the microphone.
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Going back to Daniel Andrews and his mother, Daniel Andrews, well, I assume that he lives in his electorate of Mulgrave, which is in the southeast of Melbourne. His mother lives on a farm in Wangaratta. So if Daniel Andrews went all the way up there to visit his mother, I'm sure the media would notice. But I wonder remember how during Easter, Victoria Police did that blitz where they cracked down on people who weren't staying at home? Are they going to be pulling people up on Mother's Day? So why are you out and about? Are you visiting your mother? Which is basically, Dan Andrews has gone from being a Stalinist to basically being Pol Pot, because under Pol Pot's reign of terror in Cambodia, they took breaking up the families and like the male and female reproductive unit to new levels.
Yeah, it's I've said this a few times. It's all just a little bit convenient. Like when we talk about a totalitarian regime instituting policies which stop people from like being able to have any kind of contact with each other, keep you apart from your family, give you a hard time if you just want to leave your house. It's all just a little bit convenient. It's reading like the stuff of the 1984 how it began sort of thing.
I know, it not only keep us apart from family, but keep us apart from group ideologies. So you cannot assemble to discuss your politics. You cannot assemble as a group to go against the government.
That's a very good point. Here in Victoria, mind
it's
you, like
easy to control people when they're apart. So we cannot assemble.
The irony here in Australia is that, the irony here in Victoria is that that's actually kind of even the score, because for about a decade now, any conservatives or anybody to the right, any nationalists who tried to organise in public, were basically given a license by the Victoria Police to, Antifa were given a license by the Victoria Police to be as violent as they wanted to them. So it's preventing Antifa from gathering together as well. So again, it's like one of those strange upsides here in Victoria.
Yeah, preventing us from treason.
Yeah.
Although he hasn't, even though he's kept the rest of us in lockdown, because that's apparently the only way to keep us all safe. there's been in Victoria, there's been that coronavirus cluster at that halal slaughterhouse, that Cedar Meat Works, which 62 cases now have been linked to that halal slaughterhouse. It hasn't been mentioned that it's halal.
Did you hear? Yes. Did you hear how like they found out that one of the guys had coronavirus? Like he went to the Sunshine Hospital because he'd severed his thumb. So guess what's in the burgers, guys? Guess what's in the halal burgers?
Well, apparently it only deals with exports. And I spoke about on Tuesday how they'd been at a Chinese food expo. So thankfully, I don't think we're going to be consuming any of those cedar meats. And I think
halal infected meat.
Yeah, and I think it was you, Stefanos, who said that they were nominated for like a small business award, and the video clip, the comments are disabled. I'm not sure if that happened recently or was always there.
Yeah, I wish we could find out whether those comments are disabled recently. But in 2015, Cedar, what's it called? Cedar Exports. What's it called?
Cedar Meats.
Cedar Meats. They won some sort of entrepreneurship award or something, and the CEO, some guy called Farouz, which is a Lebanese name, he was commenting on the video, but you can't really comment on the video. And if you actually look at some of the footage from Cedar Meats, you'll see that they've got an Australian flag and the Lebanese flag on their premises, which is very interesting. And I think 49 people have been infected so far by
62.
the outbreak. 63.
That's quite a cluster.
Yeah,
It's quite a cluster. And
we've been asked actually to know what's the number of employees. But when you say 62 people infected, it could be some of the relatives.
Yeah,
involved.
it
So,
includes the
okay,
relatives as well that they've infected.
If you have like 100 employees and you have 62 people infected, you need to shut it down, the business.
I think it was like
And this business actually, this business actually donates $15,000 to the Labor Party. So when the outbreak came, and they only said, a meat slaughterhouse is being one of the big, or an outbreak, or 40 cases. They were never saying the name of the place. It was just released recently.
Well,
because they're big donors of the Labor Party.
15,000. They outed themselves, the Cedar Meats, because the Andrews government didn't mention, because they didn't want to cause panic. And Michael O'Brien, the Liberal opposition leader, they're making a bit more noise that they have in the past. He has called this outbreak Dan Andrews' Ruby Princess, and Dan Andrews replied saying, no, we've managed it really well. And Michael O'Brien came back with, if this is something that's been managed really well, I'd hate to see what a cock-up looks like. Which was a pretty good line.
And that's a fair point. And back on the other point before that you mentioned about why the company name wasn't mentioned, I think another question everyone should ask themselves is, let's just assume that the company, as a hypothetical, if it was an Australian company that wasn't a Labor donor, do you think Dan Andrews would have released their name?
Well, he released the name of that school where the music teacher who never had any interaction with students got coronavirus.
Yeah, I think they hired more because the company is a donor, and I think maybe you have the whole multicultural thing. They didn't probably want to say, look, probably the hygiene of the place, or the social distancing of the workers, they don't obey social distancing, because you still can go back to work and maybe keep a little bit of distance, keep wearing your gloves, keep wearing your masks. So I can imagine the hygiene of the place is not up to scratch, if it's so many people to get infected at the working place.
We've got a few more questions on entropy, a follow-up from the Australian Vanguard, who to the best of my knowledge, in the chat is Raymond Foster. Lovely answer, but to delve deeper into this topic, what does Marcia think about the racial implications of diversity? I understand she knows nothing else but the West, but would she defend it staying white? I think you answered that.
I think I answered that. I'm not against miscegenation, if it's what he's asking, because I'm actually a result of miscegenation. So if it wasn't for the Europeans coming to South America, I wouldn't be born now. So I'm a mix of native, Aboriginal, Brazilian, with European, Portuguese, Spanish, monkey, who else is on my blood? You know, but I was raised as a Westerner. I was raised with Christian values. I was raised to respect Western values. So I understand the implications with miscegenation. Sometimes you can have some problems with birth defects. I'm not trying to get too deep on that, but you know, I think you should try to marry between your peers, between your race, and try to keep that. Because actually, just a little example, when my daughter born, I saved the stem cells. So you call a company, is the cryosite, and they send someone, so they send the syringe, so the doctor collects the stem cells. And I was trying to, you know, before they organize everything, so it cost me $3,000. And my husband was like, oh, you're gonna waste $3,000 for nothing, that shit. I said, I want to do that because I have a history of cancer. I have cancer when I was 29 years old. I have Hodgkin's disease. So if I have history of cancer, I want to prevent something to happen with my kids. So you can use stem cells to treat cancer. And my doctor said, you know, like, you're spot on, because you and your husband are not a common mix. Your husband is Irish, Australian background, and you're Brazilian. You have whatever, your Aboriginal, Brazilian blood, European. If just in case, if your son or daughter have a leukemia or something, if they need bone marrow transfusion, to find the perfect match is almost impossible. To find the Brazilian and the Australian with all the heritage they have, my monkey blood, whatever I have on my body, is almost impossible. So if you can save the blood, if you can save the stem cells for your children, is the best thing you can do, because like the mix they have with my husband is not that common. You understand? So we're very fortunate. Our kids are very healthy. I'm very healthy, but you can have problems sometimes with miscegenation. So it was one of the first things that I thought. I said, I should save the stem cells for my children, because my husband decided to marry a monkey.
It's the argument against immigration and also the argument against colonialism. You basically keep things simpler. When people marry their own, there are a lot of mixed race people
not their cousins, please. Don't marry your cousins.
Yeah, we're not talking Tasmania. We're not talking about Tasmania here. There are psychological problems that people have when they are mixed race. They have identity problems, like, who am I? It just creates a whole, like you've identified, like one of the medical risks involved as well. Basically, people united under the idea of a common racial identity is strong, and it's why Marxism, from its very beginnings, like worked to undermine the racial identity of homogenous European nations. They called themselves internationalists for a reason. I call it the first weapon of Marxism, and it's why being a nationalist is actually like one of the most powerful ways that you can oppose Marxism, because like that was one of the first things that they went for, racial identity, common racial identity of the people.
Yeah, and I don't think there is nothing racist about that. Oh, sorry.
Question, Marshall. you mentioned before about the White Australia policy. So you mentioned that you want to bring it back. Is that correct? Or you just support the policy? Or do you want to bring it back if we could? Is that what you said?
You asking to me or to
Yeah,
Tim?
if you want to bring back the White Australia policy. Is that what you said before?
I'm in favor of the policy, but I think the policy embrace more not only white Australia but Western values. So if you want to come to Australia, you should be able to embrace Western values. You have a lot of people that come here now, and just want to impose their way of life. I'm Brazilian. I speak Portuguese. I eat black beans. But I keep my culture, I keep my tradition inside of my house. As soon as I step out of the door, I'm respecting Australians. I'm respecting Australian laws, respect Australian culture. So I'm not trying to change the country for you to follow my religion or to follow my way of life. And from now on, you're gonna have to make a special prayer room for me, or you have to celebrate my holidays. No. So I'm not asking anyone to celebrate Carnival.
That's fine. I think the reason why I'm asking, Marcia, is because Raymond's still a bit confused. Like, Raymond Foster, the person who's asked the question.
Make the question.
He wants to know, because just so you know, the White Australia policy was basically only letting Europeans in.
I know, and I understand. So I would be a completely hypocrite if I think it has to be only whites, because I'm not pure white. So I would say that I'm not allowed to come to the country now. I have 2 children as a married Australian man. So I think the policy can be flexible with Australian values.
So that means
because that means that I will not be allowed in this country if I say, oh, it should be only white Australians. I have European blood. I've never done a DNA test. I don't know how the percentage, but I'm definitely not pure white.
So essentially, though, that means that you don't support the White Australia policy. You're saying that it should change to just having a Western.
Yeah, I cannot support 100% because otherwise I'll be out of the country as well.
Fraser Anning, described
Australia's Western values,
immigration history as predominantly European, and it was after World War II when we've had this discussion before, Stefanos, whether Greeks and Italians are white because they do come in various skin colors, but they certainly added a new dimension to the Australian, not just demographic but culture as well, which has fed through today.
I actually researched more about Greek immigration recently, and I found out that at the time when Greeks were introduced into Australia, the government and a lot of the people felt that they were white, but not white enough, so to speak. And I think that sounds fair enough. So they wanted to bring Italians and Greeks and Yugoslavs into the country to avoid bringing Asians into the country and coolie labour. So they thought that at least they're white. They're not white enough because, they're olive. And the other reason why Greeks and Italians are olive is not from a genetic standpoint because we're white genetically, we're Europeans, but only because Italy and Greece especially have over 200 days of sunlight per year. So obviously the people there are going to have that bit of tanned colour, but they're still white. And so in terms of Australian history, Greeks have been considered white, but not white enough. And
I see Greeks and Italians and white as white.
Sunlight as opposed to genetics.
No, I think everyone sees Greeks and Italians as whites, and you in the Mediterranean, so of course you're gonna have olive skin.
Unfortunately, though, it was
definitely today, but not so much in the past. It was like a bit of both in the past. It was like they're white, but they're not white enough. But today it's just
my birth certificate says that I'm white. So, but I definitely have brown skin. But that's for you to see. Like in Brazil, this is white, because the average Brazilian is way darker than me. So this is considered white. So I was adopted, so I don't have much information about my real family. But you're gonna have so many shades of brown, so many shades of darker brown. You really be considered black. So that on my birth certificate, I'm considered white. And then when I arrive on Australia, I say, oh, I'm not that white.
I'll tell you what, Marcia, one last thing about the White Australia policy and your education, so to speak. I used to do a lot of videos about that policy and the history of Australia and our founding fathers. What I'll do, I'll send you some videos just to help red pill you on the issue, because I disagree with you on what you think about White Australia policy, which is fine.
No, I respect the policy.
There was a time when, if you asked me like 8 years ago what I thought, I would say exactly the same thing with you. I used to be a civic nationalist as well, but then I sort of read some literature. So what I'll do, I'll message you some videos that I made.
Send me on Telegram.
Yeah, I'll send you on Telegram, and that way you can have a bit of a listen, bit of a read, and see if you you might change your mind. Who knows?
Yeah, but just a quick question, because we got on that. So on your view, because you respect the White Australian policy, so you think someone like me from South America could get a visa to come, or be vetted? Say, no, you're not considered white.
For example, to answer your question, one of my best friends at work is Colombian, and he is so white. He's whiter than me, 100%. And if I didn't know him the first time I met him, I'd say he was European. But I'd base it on color. If someone is Brazilian or Colombian and they look white, I'd say bring them in. Just make sure they are very small in numbers. So I think that the way I see it, Australia should be 80%, 85% Anglo-Celtic, Irish, Scottish. And your 10% Yugoslavs, your Greeks, your Italians. And then you've got a couple of percent Aboriginal, very few Asians, and that's it. So basically 95% white, 10% Greek, Italian, 85% Anglo-Celtic, and then a couple of percent all the other ones. So I agree that there is some room for a few people who aren't white, but they need to be like 0.1% of the population, very small.
Yeah, because we're changing the demographic.
You've got way too many Asians, way too many people, and they're just taking over. So that's what I would say. But I'll send you the links later, and you can
thanks.
have a look at them.
We've
okay,
got
people, this is where I sign off. 10 p.m. I'll leave it to you guys. Have a good night, everybody. Good night to everybody.
Thanks,
in the chat.
Have a good weekend.
Cheerio.
Thank you. See you later.
Yep.
I'm going to turn now. We've got a few more questions on entropy, and I mentioned DLive before. This is an interesting comment by one of our followers, Wallaby, who said, Chad DLive versus Virgin YouTube cucks, shots fired. On entropy, Senator Slayer says, Marcia, have you ever thought about producing a swimsuit calendar for a nationalist charity?
Get red.
Jesus.
Oh, thank you. I'll take this as a really nice compliment, but I don't think my husband will be happy with that. Anyway.
Well, that's on the agenda.
We've got another question from Rabbi Foreskin. The Nazis gassed 6 to 20 million Jews in World War II due to their white supremacy. How can you support these views? Are you a Nazi? Ove.
Is that to me?
I think I was talking to Marcia because she expressed sympathy with it.
Okay. I'm not sympathetic to exterminating people. I'm sympathetic to vetting, to immigration, to visa. That's completely different. We cannot compare two things. I think we can allow people that have the same mentality, follow the same values, and will respect Australian culture, regardless sometimes of the color of their skin. But we should allow more of the European heritage, because it's Western culture, and when we're talking about Europeans coming to Australia compared to maybe Asians coming to Australia, Middle Easterns coming to Australia, sometimes they clash with the culture, sometimes they don't respect the culture, and you can see some few problems with radicalization. And we're all aware of that. So you can have a European, Italian, British, Greek, and they integrate. The Greeks, the Italians, whatever you study about the history of Australia, the Greeks and the Italians, they arrived here, they didn't receive any handout, there was no welfare money, they work hard, they build their houses, they build their business, and you know what? They just proud Australians now.
Yeah.
And you have people coming
you wouldn't believe the amount of Greeks I talk to who support Pauline Hanson.
Yes.
Far right-wing parties, because exactly what you said.
Because they know how hard their parents and their grandparents have to work, and they didn't have $1 from welfare. And then you have people coming here and then just like, well, I want my prayer room, I want this done, and they get welfare money, and they don't respect, they don't stand up, their children don't stand up for the national anthem and at the school. So why are you here? Why are you here? So my child have a Brazilian mom, but my child's Australian. My child have to stand up for the national anthem. My child have to study Australian history. My child have to respect Australian history and culture.
Yeah.
His mom is Brazilian. I'll be Brazilian. I'll follow Brazil on a soccer or whatever, but my child is Australian. End of the story.
And the thing is, just to make it like even worse, because when I was in high school, we had to sing the national anthem, and even some of the Anglos, like the so-called skips, so to speak, traditional Australians, so to speak, some of them were just stuffing around. They'd laugh during the national anthem.
Oh, that pissed me off.
And I got so angry, and I used to tell them off, and I almost got into a few fights with them. It never became physical, but just verbal sort of stoushes between these people. And it's just like, okay, you got a son of Greek migrants who's more patriotic than traditional Australians who were born here probably for like 5 generations.
Yeah,
it makes you wonder.
That's very disappointing. Really because that's the thing. You come as an immigrant. You come as an immigrant, and you can keep culture, keep your language, whatever. But embrace the country. Embrace the country. Otherwise, you shouldn't be here. You shouldn't be here. That's how I see. I'm never going to be a pure blood Australian, but if I can tell to any Australian nationalist now, like, I love your country and thank you. Like, I'm very thankful to be here. Anyway, that's my view.
If they sung the James Fox Higgins original version of Advance Australia Fair, they might get more into it. People might be wondering where James is, because he hasn't been on the Uncuckables the past 2 weeks, and his show's been on hiatus. This is a tweet of his from May the 4th. Please excuse the skipping of the last 2 shows over the weekend, friends. have been all weekend working closely with my son, acting as new James Fox Higgins show producer, and adding a few new dimensions to our Thursday night, that's for the US viewer, Friday 1 p.m. show. Wholesome and joyful stuff for normal, sane Westerners. It'll be like Foxy Fridays for those who were already viewers last year, but much, much better. I should be back to normal operations from tomorrow. Oh, well, obviously that didn't happen, and look forward to discussing the events of the world with you all. We'll launch this new weekly show when it's ready and not before. We're working hard at it. Stay tuned.
That's good.
And I'll just put he's posted a photo here of his new studio set up here. All of it, sort of plaques there and guitars there. So yeah, it looks nice.
It's good.
I haven't heard from James for the past week. He likes to live off the grid and be elusive now.
So he'll probably be happy with the lockdown.
Well, nothing much has changed for him. Yeah, I don't want to reveal where he lives, but it's not in Victoria, so he doesn't have to put up with Stefanos. You're a Melburnian as well.
Yep.
So we're certainly a Melbourne-centric show most of the time.
Yes, we are. Yes.
But I suppose when you live under totalitarian communist rule, whether that be from a premier or the Antifa street thugs, I mean, this is where the resistance is.
The fire rises.
Mm.
Fire rises, 100%.
I mean, obviously, United Patriots Front, most of their senior leadership was based here in Victoria, same as True Blue Crew.
Yep, and when you go to university as well for 5 years and you see sort of all the propaganda at the university, and also the fact that you're a minority racially on campus, then that also wakes you up as well. So Melbourne and Sydney, I think, where a lot of activists are, 100%.
Last week on the show, we went through Anastasia Palaszczuk's alleged flu shot on camera. Did you see that, Stefanos?
Yes, and I saw that.
What did you make of it? Did she get it?
Yeah, I think she got it, but I just thought it was a bit weird. And she got a lot of flack for it, which was interesting.
Well, the WA Premier, Mark McGowan, he's one-upped her today. He posted a photo of himself donating plasma.
Interesting.
But now because obviously they're putting the pressure on, as demonstrated by Palaszczuk's flu shot last week, the pressure on the general populace to have the annual flu vaccination, even though we've already killed the flu 80% on last year just by social distancing and more hygiene. So why do we need to get the flu shot then? And Scott Morrison, he remember when he said that he was thinking about making the COVID Safe app compulsory, and then he backtracked immediately. He had another moment this week where he said that NRL players who don't have the flu vaccination should be banned from play. And
Yeah,
I'm not
no shot, no play.
Yeah, I'm not an NRL fan, but one of the big stars of the NRL, Bryce Cartwright, he said he wouldn't get a flu vaccination, and he didn't say that he was an anti-vaxxer. This was a note that he put on Twitter. Not once have I said I am anti-vaccinations, never claimed to be a doctor or a medical professional, never told anyone what they should or shouldn't do in regards to vaccinations. I stand for the freedom to choose what goes into our bodies. I'm pro-choice, pro-informed consent, pro-medical freedom. I have nothing against people who choose to vaccinate, so to label me anti-vaxxer is spreading misinformation. The flu shot is not mandatory in the NRL at the moment. Players have been offered a waiver to sign if we don't want it. Giving us the ultimatum of get the shot or be stood down is coercion, and it's leaking private medical information. Well, that's illegal. As for me, being the first and apparently only one in declining the flu shot is bullshit, and as far from the truth. These are our bodies, and we decide what goes into them. I know people in my industry with vaccine-injured children, and the herd never stuck around for them. I won't be bullied into making decisions that could impact my health and the health of my family. Thank you for all the messages of those standing in solidarity. See you.
I think he was fantastic. I think he was pretty right, because you cannot just force people to take this. So they're trying to force the NRL players. So soon they're going to force some industries like construction industry. They're going to put on TV, oh yeah, all the firefighters got the jab now, all the nurses got the jab. So they're going to do this on TV. They're going to put celebrities pretending they take, and TV hosts to do. They want people to volunteer to take the jab, but I don't think it should be forced.
Yeah.
Well, this afternoon, the NRL backed down after a few other players joined Bryce Cartwright in the revolt. This is the headline from news.com.au. NRL anti-vax players score win with coronavirus flu shot concession. The NRL has been forced to embarrassing retreat after the league's anti-vax players secured a rollicking win at the negotiation table. And why did they use that language? Maybe because they
Anti-vaxxer.
published this the other day. Angela Mollard, who said people who refuse to download the COVID-safe virus tracing app are the new anti-vaxxers. Look out, Australia. There's a new breed of delusional idiot in town, the anti-appers, who, like anti-vaxxers before them, are putting us all at risk. And
I know.
yeah, this
Should-
is...
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, this is what they've written here, that one of the arguments is our privacy at risk. No, it's not, says Rachel Falcon, quotes this cybersecurity research person. And basically, to sum it up, says trust the government. And the people who don't download the app sound as ignorant as the anti-vaxxers whose selfish choices have led to babies dying of whooping cough. You can only hope more of us see sense. Angela Mollard is a freelance writer. Well, sure, like nobody would pay her for her services.
I know. I read her article, and she covers. I even write it down because she covers mundane, prosaic. No one is interested on our suburban lives. We're ignorant. I don't care. I still not gonna download the app. It's my choice. And I think the NRL should have a look at what happened with the Rugby Australia, what they done with Israel Folau to try to force him to do something, because it's your freedom. You shouldn't be forced to take the vaccine. So they can get, if that guy, what's his name again?
Bryce Cartwright.
If he can make a big money on NRL, can sue them, because if he loses his job, like Israel Folau have with Rugby Australia, he can make a lot of money there. You cannot force someone to take the vaccine or say, oh yeah, you're not gonna play, you're gonna lose your job. You can't do that.
And interesting, he used the line, "My body, my choice,"
choice.
Which it's of course
such
that's
a lefty slogan. Yeah,
but it's actually the left only use it to justify baby murder, which is of another human being, but that's the only time they're actually pro-choice when it comes to killing babies. But of course, when it's something actually pro-choice here about whether you want to have a vaccination which has mercury in it, oh no, you must. And this is the thing about how they convince everybody to get vaccines, that to build up the herd. Even if you get the flu vaccine, you can still get the flu if not other people get the flu vaccine.
Do you want to go ahead? I just think it's just ridiculous. You don't have to force people to take. First, because I don't believe the vaccine will be safe, whatever is coming for COVID-19. I never took the flu shot because I'm pretty healthy. I got the flu a couple of times, but I recovered pretty well very quick. So even if the ingredients were available online, that should be, whatever you take, whatever you have a national vaccination for kids, all the ingredients should be available online. So you make your choice, you make up your mind. I still don't think you can force the players to have the shot. You cannot force any industry to take the shot. So actually, sorry, Scott Morrison, he was the one who created the no jab, no play for childcares, because he was the social service minister at the time. So you have this child cares, and I understand, because some of the mom, they drop their newborn babies when they're like 6, 4 months, because they go back to work. So you don't want your children, when they still, very new, so like the newborn, so you don't want them to get a disease, to get a whooping cough. I understand with child cares why maybe the kids should be vaccinated, but as an adult, you shouldn't be able to force someone. Or that's it. Or you get the jab, or you lose your job. That's absolutely wrong.
Did you want to add to it, Stephanos?
Don't really have much to say about this one.
Sorry, I'm taking over.
You mentioned about the ingredients for the vaccine. They should be disclosed. I had a tech expert on my show last night, James Newbury, who's a difficult nerd on Twitter, who explained that they want us to download the COVID Safe app, but are not going to release the source code, which tells us exactly what the app does, which would put its mind at ease because of privacy concerns. And he turned around that if you've got nothing to hide, then it shouldn't bother you. That if the government's got nothing to hide with this app, why can't they just release the source code?
Yeah, same thing with the ingredients for vaccines. We need to know. Like, we read the ingredients when we buy food. So why, you vaccinate my child when they're 6 months, when they're newborn, when they're 1 year old, when they're 18 months. You need to know what you're putting on the body. It's a fair question.
We've got a few more questions here on entropy. One from PC Leaks Pete. Question for Marcia. Would you consider an exercise workout program? Some people of middle-aged descent may get over too excited.
Just because I put my workout on Telegram today. I'll make some Jane Fonda inspired videos soon.
Maybe we need a whole Marcia Leite workout network. 24/7 TV channel.
Yes, me and Lycra all day. That'll be fun.
And we've got one from Binary Agenda. Do you think we should replace stamp duty with land tax, or the option to choose whether buying a home? What about GST increase to 50%? How can we pay for all of this economic damage? Well, certainly the old adage is nobody taxes their way to prosperity. And if we're going to prosper again, I said the discussion should be how do we generate the wealth which we can tax at a non-punitive rate. I hate stamp duty, land tax, and GST increases.
Yeah, well, that old libertarian adage of you can't tax greater prosperity, it's actually true, but it depends on the level of taxation. So you're right, we should find new ways to generate wealth as opposed to just stealing wealth from people. But at the same time, one thing that I do think we should increase is the GST, only because everyone pays it, and I believe that we're going to get through this together. Everyone should chip in, and it is a consumer tax. I've got the technical term for it, but
consumption tax.
Consumption tax, that's the one. Even if it was like 13%, I wouldn't do it 15%. Maybe that's too much. Big jump. I'll just do it like maybe 13 or 14%, just to make it easy for people to cope, and then eventually do it 15, maybe in 2-3 years' time. But as the first couple of steps, maybe bump it up to a couple percentage points just for now.
I'm not that good with that because I grew up in a different country, so the taxes, so what we have in Brazil is a little bit different, but we have something similar with the consumption tax. And I will not agree to increase that, because we're gonna reopen our country to manufacturing. So hopefully Australians will choose to buy Australian made instead of Chinese made. So you want people to start buying Australian again. So what I think what the government should do is actually reduce taxes, so our product actually in the end of the day is cheaper. So we need to reduce taxes for someone who wants to bring manufacturing back to Australia. So that was exactly what Trump done in America. So he reduced his taxes actually like 35% or something. So he bring all the car industry back to America. He bring a lot of manufacturing, the steel. So for we bring manufacturing back, he needs to give some tax exemptions for manufacturing. And then the end product will be more competitive with international cheap importation. So you have higher wages in Australia, and I think we shouldn't reduce the wages. So you need people to have decent living. But a way to reduce the price of our product is by reducing taxes. So I'm happy to pay for Australian product, even sometimes a little bit more expensive, but a lot of people don't do that. They're happy to buy Chinese crap. So the best way to reduce is by reducing taxes, reduce the consumption tax, because this is going to generate more jobs. So I think what the government should think is, so we're making less money in taxes, but we have less people on welfare because they're getting back to jobs. So that's how they should think. I think
I've got a very weird but radical idea that might solve a few problems. It basically, it's increasing tax, which is what the left wants, and it's also going to stop Muslims from coming to Australia. So the lefties are all about taxing the church religions. Well, I don't support that myself, because as a Christian, I think that's wrong. And I wouldn't want the Greek Orthodox Church, which I belong to be paying tax, because the money that we raise goes to the charity and our community. We help the population anyway. And we know how to spend the money, unlike the government. The point is that if there's 10 religions in Australia, so to speak, let's just say, then maybe we can give the left 10% of what they want and just tax one of them. Let's tax Islam, and let's tax all the mosques. They can pay money, which we can spend on whatever. And therefore, we're not going all the way there, which is one religion out of 10, but we're getting towards that socialist utopia. And on top of that, we're sort of sending a message to Islam that we don't really want you here, and therefore come here. So everyone's happy, almost.
Yeah, I think the problem with taxing religious institutions is how you control really the donations, because how religious institutions make their money is out of donations. They're just going to falsify everything. It's going to say, oh yeah, we got $100 donation a month. So how can you, because you don't buy a product. You donate money to your church, you donate money to the local mosque. What I think it needs is actually control what they spending the money, because you have a lot, and where the money come from, because a lot of the mosques built in Australia, they come from money coming from Turkey, money coming from Saudi Arabia. So for me, this is treason. So you have states, you have governments allowing this money to flood our country, to build those mosques, to build the madrasas, the schools, and who knows what they're teaching. So actually, I mentioned this once. All they preachers, all they service should be done in English, should be done in our language, so we know what they're teaching. The school should be teaching our language, so that we know what's happening on the schools. We should have surveillance. You should have cameras inside of the mosque, so the Australian Federal Police, so the ASL, so they know what's going on. So if there is so much threat with the extremists, so it should control that. What's happening inside. You're only allowed to speak English inside of the mosque, and was what I think that I said before, to don't bring the preachers that come in from overseas that radicalize more teenagers, more Muslims. So you have to have more control with that. So that's with Peter Dutton, to control who comes to the country, because they didn't allow Milo to come, they didn't allow David Icke to come, but they have all those Muslim preachers coming here, the imams, and they all extremists.
Yeah.
Not all, my dear.
On this point, Mark, I just want to ask you something, which goes back to what you said before about white Australia. You said that you want to have like a Western values test and stuff. Now, I want to tell you a story that happened to me some time ago, which kind of made me realize that I was wrong about, civic nationalism. But there used to be a YouTube channel called Street Dawah. Street Dawah, D-A-W-A-H. It's an Arabic term for conversion. And basically you have Muslims who would go in the streets of Sydney and they would try to convert people, Australians. And at the time, I'm ashamed to say, I was actually like, yeah, good on them. I wish Christians would be more like them and promoting their religion. I was wrong, but whatever. At the time, I respected that. And then the guy I saw on the YouTube video, he had a green shirt, a very bright green shirt. And his name was Muhammad Baryele or something like that, Baryele. Bearyel something. Anyway, I saw that video, on day one. The first day I saw it, and then a week later, the same guy who was converting people to Islam in Australia was on the front page of the Herald Sun because he was recruiting people in Australia to go fight for ISIS.
To join ISIS, yeah. I think I remember that story.
So let me explain something to you. Before you mentioned, we should let people in if they support Western values. But the thing is, with this guy, he was born in Australia from Muslim parents. So he was a situation where his parents might have supported Western values. Let's just say they did. But he was born and he was radicalized in Australia. So the way I see it, okay, to avoid radicalization, your view of immigration wouldn't actually solve it, because how do you know who's radical and who's not radical? Because they might become radical, 30 years later. Or the parents, they don't ask, do you support ISIS when they come to Australia? Do you support this? Like, how do you even measure whether someone's radical or not? The Australian government doesn't ask these questions. And even if they did, who's to say that on day one that they come to Australia, they support Australia, and then all of a sudden they might read the Quran, and then all of a sudden they support Islam and they want to support terrorism. So the way I see it, I think we should just not have any of them, pretty much,
Yeah,
you don't know when they're going to, go crazy, so to speak. And that's what our ancestors sort of could. They foresaw all these problems
beforehand. Yeah.
And if you read up on our founding fathers, they foresaw everything. If you look at Henry Lawson, he foresaw Asianization, the problems they would have. They knew that if we bring all these people in, it's going to cause problems. Even if some of them admittedly do support Western values, I agree with you. Someone like you, for example, okay, and I will still support you coming here because you are white. But with other sort of tribes like Africans and Asians, etc., I wouldn't want pretty much any of them in here because they're just too many of them will cause problems. And also with the Muslims, they'll become radical, and they might become radical after, when they're born here, which you can't measure.
With Islam, I completely understand it. It's such a dense topic because you can have families. You always have those stories. The mom and dad say, "Oh, but he was such a good boy. He grew up. We have a Western values. We respect the country." But the child, the son, become a radicalized.
And the mainstream media, they also run with that as well. Oh, it's how did he end up this way?
How did he end up like that? So that's what I think that the government needs to have some control what's happening inside of the schools, because the radicalization happened online because they search for that. It happened with the imams that come from overseas to preach radicalization, to really hate Western society. So they hate us, they hate the white man, and they think that actually they own this country. I think I remember was the Habusta Heat is a group that was in Sydney that they used to say that the Muslims, they came to this land before Captain Cook. They already been dealing with the Aborigines before. This land belonged to us. So they're actually convincing young Muslim kids that they'll arrive on this land first.
Yeah, well,
and the whites, the convicts, they're not good. They came here as convicts.
So they see us. Muslims. They just traded with the Aboriginals. That's it. They never actually settled here. So
so they see us as inferior. So they're being raised just to think like that. So this is why it's such a dense subject, because it have to be dealt from the beginning, since they're kids.
Have we got a Zoom bomber here?
We have a hacker?
That sounds like Senator Slayer. You hacked into this Zoom meeting, you terrorist.
Come in.
It's actually quite easy to hack into these things. I think you've got two of me up there. You got two accounts on?
No, what I think it probably took you 2 shots to get in.
I'm a boomer with tech. Hey, what's going on, guys?
You have to press to unlock your video. Do you have a little red thing in the bottom to unlock your video?
No, you don't want to see what he looks like at the moment.
No.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Marcia, what are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good. The kids are sleeping, the husband's sleeping, so I'm fine. Mom is free. Mom is free.
Yeah, so yeah, keep going, keep debating. I like listening to this and sitting in on it.
Yeah, no, we got in such a delicate subject. That's what can you do to improve, to do what with radicalization and Islam in Australia. Even someone that is already born, is Australian born, it's so easy for them to get radicalized. So this is why the government have to be inside of their schools, have to be inside of their mosques. They should only teach English, so we know what they talk. We should have cameras inside of the mosques. You should have control with the money that's coming in, that's funding those mosques and those madrasas.
They're having, I think, government surveillance cameras inside a place of worship permanently without a warrant. That's pretty... I would say we wouldn't want that done to us.
I wouldn't mind cameras inside of a church. You know what? After everything that the Catholic Church done with child sex abuse, they have to suck it up for that.
I don't think all of the child sexual abuse in Catholic Church would happen in
every single church
in the church itself. And if your hypothetical was to take place, then those radicals in the mosques, they'd know to step outside when they're going to be discussing something sensitive.
No, of course, but you can reduce the block the visas of those imams to come to the country. That's a lot of things that can be done. Make sure all the books, everything is being taught in English, so we know what's going on. That is some few ways to reduce the radicalization of young Muslims.
To be honest, Marcia, if you just have cameras in the mosques and you ban certain books or whatever, teach English only, they'll just teach whatever crap they teach.
I know, yeah, a lot of the radicalization happen online anyway.
It's like, haven't you seen those TV shows when they know they're being bugged and someone's wearing a wire and they pass each other notes?
Yeah. So the easiest solution is just to not introduce the problem in the first place.
I know, yeah, we shouldn't have the problem in the first place. Yeah, I understand that.
In Greece, we have a proverb: solve a problem from the root. So just take it from the root. Like when you take out a weed, take it from the root. Don't just trim it.
I forget which country. I don't know if it was Slovenia that was so long that actually doesn't accept Islam on the country. I think it was Slovenia.
Hey, Stefan,
doesn't accept as a religion. Sorry.
There's no need to be racist, mate. We're all here. We all come to Australia. We're all immigrants. Why are you going to be so racist towards Marcia?
He's being very cute with me. He's been very polite.
Marcia, because she's a fine woman, but I do think she needs to do a bit more reading. So I'll be sending her some relevant resources.
I know,
fair enough, because I only came across the information I came across a couple of years ago, and you're a newly arrived immigrant, so.
You have to remember I'm a woman, so I have only 2 brain cells.
The government doesn't teach what I taught. Like a lot of the videos I was making, unfortunately, a lot of Australians were denied a lot of the knowledge that I was promoting. That's why I created my channel, because I felt like there was a bit of a gap in the intellectual spectrum. People weren't talking about the ideas that I knew about. So that's why I created my channel. But I'll send you the links later.
Makes sense.
How are you going, Gil? Are you well?
Yeah, not bad, man. Not bad. Just living this isolation life, which is nothing has changed. I've always been a bit isolated. But I was going to say, are you going to debate Dia or... Because I saw you two having a bit of an argument recently.
Yeah, that was on Tuesday, Uncuckables. You said in the live chat, Stephanos, that you'd be prepared to put previous animosities aside if you were allowed on a show, or there was some sort of now the idea seems to have evolved, sorted out on air through a debate?
Not necessarily. I mean, I'm not going to not hate her because she puts me on her show, but I won't be as aggressive to her, I guess. But she did invite me on a show once in person, which she never followed through with. And for some reason, I think she doesn't like that I insulted her black friend, Kwaku. And for that, she doesn't want me on the show. And I kind of think that having me on her show, she kind of feels would isolate some of her viewers. Some of her viewers would like my views.
Didn't that guy she had on her show the other day, isn't there a video of him like calling people the N-word and sand ends and stuff like that? That was pretty extreme. Like, I don't think you're as extreme as that dude.
Well, yeah, that guy's got a Telegram account, and and he's constantly saying those sort of words, not on the show, which is obvious because we'll get banned, but definitely online on Telegram, he's pretty full on, which I like. So, I like the guy, by the way. He's good. I appreciate that he's like that. I respect that. But
so you're telling me the reason isn't true. Like, it's not about your reputation or anything. It's just she doesn't want to debate you because she'll lose or something. Well, is that right?
I think that's the real reason, is that she's just using the fact that I'm apparently very aggressive and racist or whatever.
Because you know that Neil Erickson and Blair Cottrell, don't you? That's where it comes from.
You on the show, and you're a convicted racist, aren't you? You got convicted for racism.
I've been charged.
Convicted racist.
What
is a convicted racist?
It's a twisting of a conviction that Blair and Neil got, which had nothing to do with race. They also called Andrew Bolt a convicted racist because one of his articles breached 18C of the Racial Discrimination Act, which is not a criminal act. It's a civil provision there, and he didn't get a criminal conviction for being a racist. So that convicted racist, there's no such term.
Yeah, because I remember when Blair had his court hearing, Channel 9, forget the name of the anchorman, so he says, convicted racist.
Well, they called him convicted, what is it, convicted hate monger, or did they call him that, or was it hate monger?
That's why I use the term, because the media uses it. That's a bit of a joke. I don't actually believe that Neil's a racist.
It's that same journalist, man. It's that. Because one thing people got to understand, these court reporters, they're a bunch of, like, they think they're pretty, there's about 4 or 5 of them from each channel. And what they do is they sit in the back of the courtroom and they laugh and mock everyone who's in court. And what they do is that it's like more personal. They just want to attack you. So she called me a convicted racist, and then I filed some paperwork to sue her. Then to rub salt in the wound, she called Blair a convicted hate monger. Now, if you call someone a convicted terrorist, they've got to be convicted of terrorism. If you call someone a convicted murderer, they've got to be convicted of murder. There is no such thing as convicted racist unless you were charged under the racial aspect of the law, but we'll charge under the religious. So,
well, and not also when they, because some people have said and even made videos about it, saying you're convicted of religious hatred. That is section 25, subsection 1. That is not the subsection you and Blair were convicted under. It was section 25, subsection 2, which is contempt,
ridicule
and revulsion, and so not hatred.
Yeah, just basically trolling them. Look, it's not a strong law. Like, it's $2,000 fine. They give me conviction. I've got many convictions, but
you're a man of your convictions.
I am a man of
literally.
Convictions. But it's not like the punishment. It's not a big issue. But the problem is when they start raising the punishment, because the law's already in. Like, we're all having a laugh. $2,000 fine. Who cares? But next year, maybe Daniel Andrews will make it a bit more serious. Maybe it's 1 year's jail, 2 years. They could just keep building from there.
Well, what does it? Fiona Patton's Racial and Religious Tolerance Amendment Act, it still keeps the 6-month maximum jail term, but extends it to sexuality, gender identity, and disability.
Well, they're all after me, man, because I'm a homophobe now. I don't think they're going to get that law in. If they do, they're going to have massive problems because you've got the Religious Protection Act, you've got the Human Rights Commission, which gives you the right to religious freedom,
Well,
and demonstrating.
Are you talking about the state or federal?
State. It's always the state. Federal, they're not going to push it through. I think state, they'll try. But like, if you read out something out of the Bible that's against homos, they could like charge you, but you can go on the court and say, well, this is what
That's
Jesus
what
thinks.
Israel followed then, yeah.
Exactly. You know, he should have taken that case further. I'm kind of upset with him for just like taking the deal. Like, I mean, he would have got paid a lot of money, but dude, the whole point, everyone was giving you money to fight him. You know, that really upset me.
I remember once, just a little bit before Blair got his court hearing, I remember put something on I think it was on Gap, that said, if Blair have actually make a statement, because I saw that as a statement, complaining about the Catholic Church and the treatment of children and the abuse or child sex abuse, nothing will have happened.
Well, this is the thing.
We allow to criticize the Catholic Church.
But
we're allowed to criticize Buddhism. We're allowed to criticize Scientology. We're allowed to criticize it.
The problem is it's minor religions. It only protects minor religions under the law. So major religions like Christianity, it's not protected. So you could spend all day mocking the Christian church and saying awful things and, you know, ridiculing them. Mm-hmm. It's never going to be used for that because it's only minority religions and Judaism. But it depends. It's all like political policing anyway. They're not even going to, you know, chase someone for that.
Yeah, so, but Islam is not a minority religion. You have over 1 billion followers. It's one of the biggest religions in the world now.
This probably segues into, it was actually you, Stephanos, that sent me this article from the ABC today, where I'll make that bigger here. Coronavirus fueled racism prompts debate on whether Australia's laws are strong enough to protect victims here. This is by Matthew Doran, a political reporter for ABC, and it's got the photo. James Lynn experienced a racist attack on a train in Melbourne in late February. Neil, did you write an article a few years back about a racist attack on a tram?
Not me, but I read an article about an individual on the left who abused an Aboriginal lady. It was a viral story too. Everyone read it, and basically he's not denying it. So I think that happened. But anyway, yeah.
A spate of coronavirus fueled. Does that mean that people got the coronavirus and then did the racist attacks?
I think the coronavirus causes racist attacks.
So does that mean that the people who are racist, it's because they've got the coronavirus? That's not very well written. Have sparked calls to simplify and strengthen Australia's racial discrimination and vilification process amid concerns they are too complicated and toothless to properly protect victims. It mentions here the Human Rights Commission revealed 1 in 4 people who reported the racial discrimination in February and March linked it to the coronavirus pandemic. Members of Australia's Asian community appear to have borne the brunt of the attacks and vilification. Law Council of Australia is worried the perennial issue of lack of legal aid funding, i.e. taxpayer money, is a hurdle for people wanting to navigate red tape, given only 3% of grants go towards civil cases. Well, taxpayers shouldn't be funding civil lawsuits.
Shouldn't be funding anything, yeah.
James Lynn was targeted while sitting on a train in February, well before tough social restrictions were put in place to slow the spread of COVID-19. 4 men turned on the Chinese-born Australian citizen, pretending to cough around him and hurling abuse that he must be infected as he was from overseas. And we covered this COVID-19 China die, this home that was randomly vandalized twice, which seems bizarre because it hasn't happened to a lot of other Chinese homes. While the terms were verbal, Mr. Lin that he also felt physically intimidated by the group. Female passengers stood up for him, telling the group they were being ridiculous. Because that lady stood up to me, I said that it was true Aussie values. Police were at the next station and were alerted. He was an auditor, considered following up the incident, making a formal complaint was put off. I found it very complicated and so time-consuming to go through the application or complaint process. It said there would be a reconciliation or mediation process, but it's impossible to find those guys again.
Well, hang on. Was the complaint done to the Human Rights Commission or to the Victorian Equal Opportunity Human Rights Commission?
He doesn't go into it.
Okay. Well, let me say this: if you make a complaint with the Victorian Equal Opportunity Human Rights Commission, it's the easiest thing. It takes 3 minutes. I've made a couple myself.
A couple.
Yeah, a long story.
I've never done anything like that.
Okay, I've actually done that a couple of times, and some inside information about this. I actually have spoken to some people high up who work at the commission without naming names, and they gave me sort of an explanation of their recommendations. So if you go on the Victorian Equal Opportunity Human Rights Commission website, Facebook page, if you do go to the Facebook page, give them a 1-star review, please. Make sure you give them a 1-star review. Trust me, they're idiots. Again, they're lefties. But they've released some recommendations about the Racial Religious Tolerance Act, which is the same act that Blair Control got done under, and I think Neil as well. So this commission, they provide advice to the government, and they tell the government what they think the law should be changed to. And right now, they've said that it should be the threshold for what constitutes racism and intimidation or whatever should be lowered, and that would mean that it'll be easier to make complaints. But one thing that a lot of people missed is I actually read through the PDF document. It took me about half an hour, but I got through it. It was painful. These people were very anti-free speech. So they've got a major issue, for example, with hit-and-run racist attacks. So let's just say someone's racist on a train, but then they leave. There's no way of actually complaining against them because you don't know who they are. They've just left the station. It happened within a minute. And right now, the commission, the Victorian Equal Opportunity Human Rights Commission, they want to get the police involved. So if I was someone who got abused on a train, okay, and I put in a complaint about the incident to the commission, right now, nothing could really happen because I don't know the person's name, their address, their contact number, and we can't do a mediation because I don't have their contact details or who they are. But the commission, they want the police to be able to get involved and find out where that person lives through CCTV and basically charge them with some sort of crime or whatever, but also
Charge him later.
Basically identify them. And through the identification process, then they can start the mediation process. So basically, if you're racist on a train, I'm not encouraging you to do this, but if you do a hit and run racist attack, right now, unless the person knows who you are, nothing can happen to you, which I think is fair enough because that's, I'd rather that than having given the police the ability to basically try and find someone for being racist and bringing them to the mediation table. But the commission literally wants to get police involved to track people down through CCTV to bring them to the mediation table. And I find that very scary. And that's just one recommendation. It's like 30 recommendations they made. Every single one of them is basically all about strengthening the law, the discrimination laws, and increasing the penalties for racist attacks, and basically, just making it a lot harder to be racist in Australia, which I think is very wrong. As George Brandis said, we have a right to be racist.
Oh, he said people have a right to be bigots.
Yeah,
he didn't
bigots,
say
whatever.
That's a pretty big leap there. But let's finish off this article here because there's more. It says, have you been the subject of a racist incident or seen it take place? Tell us
I have
your
a long
story.
list of things.
So ABC's inviting people to report of racist incidents.
I have. And I'll tell you the racist incident happened to me. It happened 4 years ago, I think. 3 years ago, I had my first full-time job. I was helping organise an event in Geelong, and I was in charge of letting people into the pub. It was like a massive event. And anyway, an old man came up to me, and he didn't get the message that only people with tickets can come to the pub event. And I was ticking everyone's name off to make sure they had the tickets. And he didn't have a ticket. And I told him, sorry, sir, we can't let you in. This was a very old man. And he got very angry with me because he walked like a kilometre from somewhere to be there. And no one told him about the ticket. And he didn't know. But I had to refuse him entry based on the rules. He got so angry at me that he said to me, "Are you a Muslim?" He actually asked me if I'm a Muslim. And he said in a very racist way. This guy's like an old Australian bloke, and he thought that I was.
He sounds like a legend. He sounds like a legend.
Yeah, he thought I was Muslim, and I wasn't offended by that. I was offended because, whatever. I was offended that he thought that I was a Muslim because my ancestors fought against Islam, and we fought the Turks, and we died fighting the Turks. So my manager got angry at him for calling me a Muslim, but I was more offended that he thought that I was a Muslim because I find being associated with Muslims offensive. You know what I mean? and I might have to make a complaint about that. That's a weird way to put it. But I actually felt insulted that he thought that I was a Muslim because I think I don't want anything to do with Islam, and I'm against it.
But what they're doing now, just to add on to that article, Tim, it's relevant to the article. What they're doing with the homosexuals is the police are calling on people to report homophobic incidents. Homophobia is not a law in Australia. A lot of people think it is. It's not.
Not yet.
Not yet. But what they're doing is they're asking people to report it to the police, and they're creating some sort of graph. So all these homosexuals across Australia are just ringing up when something little happens, and they're adding the numbers, and then eventually they're going to give it to Fiona Patton, who's going to give it to Parliament and say, look, we have a massive problem with homophobia. And it's the same with the racist complaints. So let's create a law. It's all manufactured, mate. The left manufactures the whole
maybe could
thing.
even be real. Couldn't even be real stories.
They're probably dying to the next label or smear they want to give people on the extreme far right extremist is convicted homophobes or
transphobe. Oh gosh.
I'm sure that will be coming for me eventually. I've got every single label now. So they'll rejoice in that. But it's like all of their words. They're not going to last too long. It dies off when you start labeling every single person a racist.
I know, but we just keep losing freedom after freedom. So anything now, you have no more freedom of thought. You can't say anything because now you label something. And soon you're going to be arrested because of this kind of labels. So you're just losing your freedom.
Hey, Margot, if you... Oh, not Margot, sorry.
Stephanus called you Margot before. Margot is... she's moderating tonight.
He's a kind of similar.
No, Margot's Filipino.
They're both foreigners. I get confused. But
it was once Philippines a territory of the United States.
Oh yeah, I didn't know
After
that.
they beat the Spaniards in the Spanish-American War, late 19th century.
Yeah, but if Marcia gets arrested, man, that will be good optics. That'll be good propaganda. Would you be willing to get arrested for a race hate crime?
Because I'm getting into these discussions. My husband was like, "They're gonna deport you. You're gonna get in trouble. You're gonna get in trouble."
That would be an interesting conundrum for the left because they'd love to deport a far right extremist, but you're a woman of color.
Yes.
Some color.
I'm a woman of color. Yes, exactly.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
This is the thing
actually, sorry to cut you.
Go for it, Marcia.
No, it was because I don't know none of you in person. So the only person that actually I met once was Blair, for coincidence, because he walked into my job. And then I recognized him, of course, tall. And then I approached him and I said, I just want you to know that there is immigrants that support what you do. I'm very proud immigrant. I came to Australia and I love this country. And I just want you to understand that there is immigrants that support you. I want this country to thrive. I came from a third world country. I don't want this to become a third world country. So that was it. So I just approached him for 30 seconds. I just spoke with him quick. But
hey, how tall is he? How tall is he? He's really tall, isn't he?
I think I'll be on his belly button. No, but so that's the thing. The left expect every single immigrant to be against white Australia. No, I'm not. I'm actually in favor towards white Australia. I married a white Australian. My kids are considered white because I have white heritage.
In your culture, it's better to have light skin, isn't it?
You know, you always, like Brazil has been colonized for over 500 years now. So we're way over the whole slave trade thing. Like we're not like America. Like America, they still maintain the anger towards slavery. Like Brazil, we're over that shit. So I have so many black friends, white friends. We don't have that thing anymore. But of course, you have ghettos. You know, the majority will be black, and sometimes that where you have most of the crime. So sometimes most of the black people will have this stigma to be robbers, to get involved with drug trafficking, because that's what happened most of the time.
Hey Tim, have you got the Frydenberg article?
Frydenberg article, which one's that?
He's under 24-hour protection for anti-Semitism.
I don't know about that. We're taking a lot of detours now. We're reaching the 2-hour mark, so let's wrap this up now. A super chat from Pissy Leaks Pete, $3 US. Thank you so much. Extreme right-wing anti-vaxxers. I nearly said extreme white-wing. I guess that could be a thing as well. White-wing. So thank you for that, PC Leaks Pete. And a question from Binary Agenda. Question for Stephanus. What should be done with Anglo-Australians born here who don't support Western values, Marxist, Islamist radicals? Maybe, like, for example, the Gays for Palestine, they should go over to Palestine and campaign for rights there.
My answer to that question is all will be revealed when the Boogaloo happens.
Well, you're not allowed to say that word. That's a Mike Burgess, a trigger word.
Okay, well, I'll leave it to the Boogaloo. Actions speak louder than words.
But yeah, if I would say if a white person hates Australia much, they should they should go to some other place which they think is better, but they still think those people who are over there should come here. It's very confusing. It's like we're such a horrible and racist country, yet we should take in all these people who hate our country but still want to get here.
Yeah, I think the worst thing you can have is race traitors. You know, you have so much white guilt. The simps, you know, be proud of who you are, be proud of your heritage. You know, that's why I'm trying to teach my son to be, you know, always be proud of your ancestors, be proud of your British heritage, your Irish heritage. It's quite upsetting to see so many Australian-borns. They hate their own country. They burn their own flag, and they think they are. No, I'm pro-Aboriginal. Like, some of the Aborigines, they don't even care. They don't go to the march. They're not against Australian Day. You know, you have a small group that are very noisy, and they create all the trouble. You know, it's very damaging for themselves. You know, their white guilt is not going to take them anywhere.
You have kids, Marcia, and you should know. Maybe have a quick Google of this in your own time. But there have been a couple of schools in the past, Australian schools, where there were some Muslim kids, and the teachers, during the national anthem, there was some sort of Muslim festival, and I forgot what it's called, but this Muslim festival or this religious holiday, you can't be happy. The whole point of the festival is you can't be happy, according to their religion, in this 2 weeks during their religious holiday or whatever. And according to these teachers, singing the national anthem is a happy act. So during the national anthem, they actually invited these Muslim kids to, you know, walk outside for the national anthem. So just be aware that there are schools out there where the teachers are actually encouraging students to walk out of the national anthem. So make sure, you know, if your children are exposed to that, they let you know about that. That way you can go make a fuss about it.
Okay, my son's red pill as hell. Like every day we mention about it.
I don't know what I'd do if I was a parent.
But hey, Stefan, it doesn't go both ways, you know. Like because I've done a lot of alleged racist things, you know. So I felt like really guilty because everyone was calling me a racist. So I decided to attend, you know, a religious festival. I went there with an open mind, tried to join in. I get attacked by a bunch of Muslims. The police arrest me. You know what I mean? Like, what kind of
For your
message
own
is that
safety.
sending?
They
For my own
arrest you for
safety.
your own safety.
I've tried to, like, you know, be multicultural. It doesn't work.
Yeah, didn't you go to an African festival as well?
As well. I got dragged off the stage. I spat on.
I remember that. I saw that.
And on that point, I was going to mention the African festival before to link it to the previous point, but
I remember you
Marsha,
said like, it's okay to be white.
Just so you know, Marsha, when me and Neil and I did that stunt with some other people, because I was with him proudly, and the piece of paper he was holding, I actually made that piece of paper.
Which you couldn't read.
Yeah,
Creative consultant.
But what happened was right after that happened, and it went viral, the African community in Melbourne and Australia in general tracked us down, and they were messaging Neil's Facebook page. We had a page called Nationalist Uprising and a few other pages, and I was admin of some of those pages. And anyway, we copped a lot of racist comments. Like, you wouldn't believe the amount of racist comments from Africans in Melbourne, Australia, and they were calling us white dogs and white pigs, death threats, but a lot of racist stuff.
Yeah, that is racist.
Personal messages. And one of the people, there was this woman, this nurse or something. She used to work in the health industry, African lady, and she was sending us audio messages, like really racist audio messages about how Africans invented everything on white people or shit and everything. We stole their wealth. And this person, just so you know, made some very racist comments about white people. And then, like a month later, Dia Beltran actually interviews her. And this is what I don't like about the hypocrisy here, is that she's refusing to debate people for being racist or whatever, but she's let people on her show who have been so racist. And I'm just wondering, you know, how come she's not consistent here? And,
debate her,
she realizes that.
Debate her next week on The Unshackled. Or Tim, what is your show?
Wilms France.
It's on her. She's got the balls to, you know, put her money where her mouth is if she supports free speech. And
it's on like Donkey Kong. Good, Stefan.
I've got a few free slots next week if it's a structured, sensible, and a what is it? Good faith debate.
Yes, keep classy. Keep classy.
I'm more than happy to follow the rules.
Neil, I looked up that Frydenberg news that you mentioned. So Frydenberg's got a 24-hour security detail after reported or receiving threats related to the government's $130 billion JobKeeper scheme. And also last night, the ATO it didn't get hacked, it got scammed. People's personal details were used to steal their superannuation at the tax office. So, yeah, download the app, take the vaccine, yet there's the ATO can't even... Well, we don't know if they were the ones who leaked the details. When I say leak, it was them direct. It was them where the scammers got the information from, or they got the information from somewhere else. But yeah, it's not a good look.
Hey Tim, I've been reading some of the comments on the Uncuckables for the last few weeks, and there's been some very savage comments about yourself, which I'd like to address because it makes me sick.
Yeah.
All right. A lot of people have been saying that you're a gay and stuff, and I don't like it.
Yeah, they're being very what's the word? Speculative.
Homophobic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or just scuttlebutt. That's what it's called.
Yeah, I just thought I'd show you some support. I'm not going to let that slide.
Yeah.
That makes me sick.
Yeah, it doesn't affect me. That's why we've got
Good, Tim.
Margot just keeping reign tonight. Because I did mention that we had a rise in impersonations and fake accounts. I noticed that a few of them they sounded strangely like other people, like I recognize the sort of writing that it's the sort of similar writing of other people that I know.
Yeah, I thought one comment, it really reminds me of Peter Grace. I think he was trying to attack you for being a gay, which, we all know it's bullshit. But it's definitely coming from him. He's used to bullying. He's always writing comments like that about you, making videos like of you, googly-eyeing Blair and Speedos. Like, it's disgusting. Hey, but anyway, I'm not smoking a bong. I'm smoking a vape. Yeah, for the people in the chat.
Or you could have just been blowing just some bubble. What is it? Blowing bubbles, just normal bubbles.
Yeah, bubbles. Yeah. No, it's a vape. It's a vape. Anyway, I just wanted to address that, Tim. Sorry for sidetracking. I just don't like to see a mate, cop a lot of flack in the chat, for wrongful attacks like that.
Oh, thank you for having my back there.
Anytime, Tim.
All right, and thank you, Marcia, for coming on again. Thank you, Stephanos.
No worries, man.
And also thank you, Dave, before. And we do hope that James is okay since he's off the grid. He hasn't been, burjoed?
Yeah.
And maybe Maddie, because I didn't hear, he couldn't make it tonight either. I think he's getting his door fixed.
Finally.
Well, we shall see.
In home renovations, yeah.
Hey, Marcia, are you going to be on the show next week?
I don't know. I can't promise. I have to try to convince my husband. He's not too happy. He's just like, I saw some of the comments the guys were making about you on the show.
Yeah, it's not cool.
It's okay. You can't control. Like I said, they're all 20 years old. I said you can't control. They're all 20
I think
years
I know what you
old.
mean, Marcia. Wink, wink. I think I know what you're referring to.
If he wishes to be a moderator, maybe if that can be a condition of having you on more regularly, just control some of those more inappropriate comments.
No, I should be fine. I'm a big girl. I don't mind. I don't care. But because he was, always the first time. He was like, some of the boys are talking shit there about you, and I'm like.
To be honest, it's actually pretty tame. Like, I think everyone's been well behaved. To be honest,
today. No, that's okay. That's okay. It's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good. I can handle it.
Tomorrow night's lineup is Trad Tasman Talk, 6 p.m. Melbourne time on the Unshackled YouTube channel, because Jacinta Ardern, she's now outlined level 2 restrictions going down to level 2, which basically is opening up everything, but just with the social distancing and venue limits. So New Zealanders are going to be more free than Victorians.
Yeah.
Then Logan Spalding's show at an hour later at 7. What's he on about now on his channel? And I
just want to give a quick shout out to Logan. I think he's a great bloke, that Logan bloke. Like, he's seriously a good kid. Very intelligent. I can't wait to see him on the show.
And then Matty might do, he sort of says he'll do 2 streams per weekend, either Friday, Saturday, Sunday night, some combination of something. And then at 8:30 Melbourne time, it's Dia Beltran and friends. She has a different friend on Friday night every week. On her channel.
It's titled Marcia.
No, she has Marcia on in the morning.
I know. Okay. We actually have been twice, 2 or 3 times, on her show on a Tuesdays during the day. So but it's funny because it's during the day, it's like lunchtime. So my kids are running around and I'm screaming with the kids, turn the chicken down. Like, it's very full on when the kids are awake. It's completely different.
Yeah, you can't help that. You're a mum. that comes with the territory.
It's literally. I have one day that I just literally have to go to my backyard. I have to go to my balcony to talk with on a phone on a balcony because my kids are playing around. So I cannot expect them to be for 2 hours sitting down quiet because mom is on the phone. So now I'll go, have fun.
This is doing community work, being on these streams.
I seen a sign. I had to go to the children's clinic. Like, you got to go because I've got a kid and stuff. And I went in there and they had a big poster that said, "Mummy, why I want to be your phone." Because everyone's on their phones and it makes a lot of sense. Like, so you'd be sitting there on your phone doing Uncuckables. And it would resonate with that sign.
Was there? You went to a children's clinic.
Yeah, you got to go after you have a newborn.
Okay, cool.
Oh, that's good. You have a newborn. That's nice. That's congratulations.
I expect him to know the national anthem by the age of 3, Neil. That's pretty effective.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Logan said in the chat that he's hoping that his show gets on to Channel 31 because we know that that's a gateway to mega fame.
Well, didn't Peter Grace and Andy Nolch have a show together on Channel 31?
They were on Channel 31, both on. I don't think they were together.
Oh, I thought they were both on the same show.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
See you all later.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Where's the outro button? Here we go.
The Uncuckables.